Hey, you know what time it is? It's time for another speculative fiction class shenanigan. This time the assignment prompt was literally to make a top 5 list or tier list video. College is so unserious sometimes. So yeah, I have decided to go with the tier list, and I thought it would be fun to do literally everything that we watched or read in the class as sort of a recap to one of the craziest and most memorable classes I've ever had in my entire life. Give me an A. I also thought it would be interesting to do them in chronological order so we can see how these themes in speculative fiction evolved over time, as well as connect them with ones that share themes. So basically what I'm going to do is just go through them, talk about the themes and my understanding of them, and then I'm going to rank them basically just on my own subjective opinion. I mean, technically I could be like, oh, how well it applies these themes and how much it works as speculative fiction and stuff, but really it's just going to be my own subjective opinion, so please do not take this seriously at all. But yeah, I wanted this to be a recap, something to remember what a funny, wacky experience this has been for this past semester. So we're going to start off with the only honorable mention, which is conveniently also the first to come chronologically, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I am not ranking this one because I did not read the whole book. We literally read one chapter. It was like 4 pages. But it is still very important and really set the groundwork for speculative fiction. This was published in 1818, over a century before anything else on this list. And it was already putting forth this idea of humanity creating life and the horror of losing control of your own creation. You know, when your creation gets out of control, like Dr. Frankenstein's monster, you know, who holds the moral responsibility? That's what I can gather is what this is about. A theme that commonly appears is the idea of hubris, when humanity is just going too far. Dr. Frankenstein is essentially trying to play God, and basically God is like, no, don't do that, and punishes him severely. If humanity tries to go too far and do these technological things, this is like the worst thing that could happen. That will become a recurring idea when we try to meddle with something that is beyond our power. No good. And Frankenstein is a very early example of that. Don't try this at home, kids. But yeah, I really would like to read the whole book, get more into the Franken fandom. All the different adaptations, there's so many. All the serials, those are also very important. But yeah, moving on to the first proper thing on the tier list, Brave New World. Brave New World, I'm pretty sure I read this in high school. I remember the name and this cover, but I remembered basically nothing about the actual book. It was like almost all new to me. Okay, I think I remember the drugs and something about the word savage. And yeah, those are definitely in there. So even though it came out first, in class I read this after 1984, and the first few chapters didn't really hook me like 1984 did, but towards the end I started getting into it a little more. I'm not like the biggest fan, it's pretty good. It has a lot of really interesting ideas for speculative fiction, like how this is essentially a utopia, but it's also a dystopia. It's a utopia where everyone is happy, but no one is actually happy because since there's no sadness, happiness is just kind of the default state. You really need to have that frame of reference for you to actually feel happy. You need to have the bad times as well. That famous quote, you know, I don't want comfort, I want God, I want death, etc., etc. And all the stuff about like eugenics and mental conditioning is also like all the sleep learning conditioning is very it's very unsettling imagery. There's a lot of just things that are just like off that it really makes you feel like, damn, this is a pretty screwed up society, even though on the surface, you know, everybody's like, oh, we're so happy because we're all high. Let's go play some, what is it, they like golf. They have like electro golf or something. That's all they do. And of course the many Shakespeare references. You gotta have the authors flexing their street cred, like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, I know Shakespeare. Cool guy. The title is a Shakespeare quote, John learning English by reading the complete works of Shakespeare. Also, in the idea of comparing it to 1984 is really fascinating to me, how like books are not banned. It's just that humans are conditioned that they don't want to read books. They don't have a reason to want to. They don't know. They have these feelings that like something is missing, that like they want something, but they don't know what it is. It's also similar to 1984 where they have Newspeak, where like they're trying to make people not have even the vocabulary to be able to revolt, to be able to fight back against the regime. So yeah, there is fascinating stuff. I am I'll put it in A or B for now. It's pretty, I don't know. Look forward to this a lot, because I'm the most indecisive person in the world. I suck at picking favorites, too. So this is a great project for me. I'll put it in A for now. Yeah, sure, whatever. Okay, 1984 by George Orwell. Released in 1949. False advertising. So, I am not a reader. I wish I was. It seems like it would be a nice thing to do if I had the time, and video games didn't exist. But this book genuinely hooked me like pretty much no other ever has. At least in terms of books I've had to read for school, which is like all the books I've ever read, I actually got really into this one. I mean, go figure. Turns out there's a reason it's so revered. 1984 deals with all the juicy themes of totalitarianism, censorship, surveillance, propaganda, all that good stuff. It's really about what happens when a government becomes authoritarian and controls all aspects of life. Orwell really makes you feel on edge the whole time. This feeling that you're just being watched and scrutinized at all times. This constant discomfort. It nails the dystopian vibe. But yeah, just genuinely in terms of just, like, I was actually actively wanted to read a book that was assigned for school. That's an achievement. I don't think Orwell had that in mind, but he's got to give himself a pat on the back for that one. There are just so many interesting things to discuss. How Winston's job is literally erasing history, yet nobody cares because they've just been conditioned to have to follow everything that they're told. It was a incredibly fascinating book, and for that, and managing to somehow keep my attention, it definitely gets S tier. Next up, we have Isaac Asimov's The Evitable Conflict from his collection of short stories, I, Robot. So let's see if I can remember. The Evitable Conflict was about artificial intelligence. There's a whole lot of the theme of artificial intelligence in this class. Gee, I wonder why that's so relevant. But yeah, the idea behind this one is it's like these government people who are trying to figure out stuff. Basically, there is just an artificial intelligence that is sort of secretly nudging the people in charge to make decisions that it determines would be the best course of action. But because it is an artificial intelligence, there's a little bit of I don't know if I trust that. So the whole crux of this one is that the machines obey the laws of robotics, and specifically there is a law that robots cannot harm humans, or that they must prevent harm to humans. The robots have then determined that just indirectly changing a few things behind the humans' backs is necessary for their benefit. Removing people who might disrupt the stability of the economy and manipulating the economy itself. So, if these machines know everything like they're supposed to, then they are making the best choices, but it also means that humans have less free will. They have less control over their lives. I found it interesting how they built up these 4 different regions of the future world. They have their own names and leaders and these different populations and stuff. Asimov is such a nerd. He would love D&D or something. I don't know. I don't play it. The machines are helping, but it's taking away our control. There's this fear of a loss of human agency, which, definitely, as with everything in this list that involves AI, feels very relevant. I already said relevant. Prescient, how about that one, to today. But personally, just reading this story, it didn't really grip me that much. I'll put it in C tier. I am generally very easily pleased, so I kind of doubt there's going to be anything in D tier. Will be interesting to see. Next up, we have one of my favorite of the short stories, The Defenders by Philip K. Dick. The premise of this one is that the humans are fighting in a war, and there's nuclear bombs, and it gets so bad that the humans have to retreat underground because the surface is unlivable and destroyed. So what they do is they make these robots and make them continue the war on the surface. But then the robots realize that, hey, war is stupid and pointless. Let's not do it. But the humans are too dumb to realize that, so let's make them continue to manufacture weapons and pretend that we are still fighting the war, even though on the surface everything is perfectly good and fine. I find that concept really interesting, just this big secret that is being kept from us by the robots. And I did think that out of all the artificial intelligence in this class, these robots seem pretty dang chill. Like, I love the little drawings that appear in the story with them. It's great. And they're keeping the surface, like, perfectly, like, preserved and clean for when humans are finally able to come back. For some reason, this is literally, like, the one story in this where I'm like, you know what? Maybe the AI has a point. The only, like, bad thing is that they're forcing people to manufacture these weapons while they're living underground, like, for no reason. Like, they literally, when the weapons arrive on the surface, they literally just destroy them. So I'm going to put it in, I'll do A tier. You know what? I'm going to put it above Brave New World, even though, because why not? It stuck with me a little more. I just found the concept really interesting and really cool. And the fact that they have these, like, little sets where, like, they're creating these, like, fake disasters and, like, explosions with, like, these little sets of cities, and they're, like, broadcasting it down to the humans. That's pretty funny. I think it is really interesting, and then it raises the question of humanity wanting to always fight and prove who's better, when that ain't what it all about. You know, we gotta all be friends with our cool robots and stuff. I don't know. Now we are entering the Twilight Zone with the episode Time Enough at Last. I've seen a small handful of episodes of the Twilight Zone over the years. I should check out some more because it really is a classic television show. Each episode is just its own self-contained, freaky story, many dealing with speculative fiction and sci-fi stuff. I mean, speculative fiction is just like, what if this happened? What if you were a nerd who likes books, and what if you were the only one who survived a nuclear explosion? What if, huh? This is a tried and true spec-fic concept. What if you were the only one left on the planet? What if you were all alone? The cruel, sad irony is very memorable in this one, that Henry finally has all the time he wants to be able to read his whole backlog of books, and then he breaks his glasses. Man, that hit. Funnily enough, a few days after watching this episode in class, I actually broke my glasses. Thankfully, I was not the only person in the world, so I was able to get new ones. The first, like, half of the episode is pretty funny, that they just, like, make up all these reasons that Henry, like, can't read, and he doesn't have time to. Like, I get that he can't, you know, he's not supposed to read at work, but the wife character is so funny. She just hates books for no reason. Like, I get you needed to establish that the world doesn't let him read, even though it's all he wants to do, but it's a little silly. This one we really looked at through the lens of, like, historical speculative fiction. Basically speculative fiction that is based on a historical event or inspired by it, but with a new setting and context behind it. In this case, it's, of course, the atomic bomb. I'm not really sure where to rank this. It's been a while since I've seen it. It was interesting. It's not there. I'll put it in B tier because I think it's pretty, you know, pretty standard, pretty good. It was an interesting episode of a very interesting show, and I like Henry. He's so scrunkly. Now we've got Kurt Vonnegut's To Be or Not To Be. That title is so genius, using the 0 in the phone number as not to spell out that, like, you know, okay. And it's like the phone number for the phone you call. It's like, hey, this is the phone number you call to die. It's to be or not to be. That's God. This one I was kind of blown away by because it's incredibly short. It's literally like 4 pages, yet it managed to tell an incredibly chilling story. I really love the idea of making the most of something incredibly limited, and I think Vonnegut did a crazy good job with this one. It's all about the idea of population control. In a future that is utopian, supposedly, yet the population is controlled at a very strict number. Also, aging has basically been cured. No one dies of old age, so for someone new to be born, someone has to sacrifice their own life. There has to be like an even exchange. You gotta keep the number, which is such a just striking and terrifying concept. This is where we first start to see the very recurring idea of societal order versus personal freedoms. Even if you may not want to have children, the idea that you could whenever you wanted is a sign of freedom. And in this case, those freedoms are being taken away in favor of societal order, in terms of living on a planet that's free of overpopulation. Basic story is that there's a guy whose wife is pregnant with triplets, and he only has 1 volunteer, so he has to find 2 more. So basically he just kills the doctor and another worker and himself to make room for all 3. The idea that there is just this phone number in this universe that you call to schedule an appointment with the Federal Bureau of Termination is so... There's a whole lot to unpack with this one. It's not short but sweet. It's not sweet, but it is short. But even then, I know I literally just said that, like, oh, this being short makes it so cool, but, like, you also don't get to unpack the characters and, like, stuff as much. It's very just, here's an interesting idea of a society that works like this, and damn, that's pretty crazy, right? Think about that. I'm so good at media analysis and being unscripted. I'll put that in top of B. All right, now this is where this gets interesting. We're in the 80s. We got some movies coming up. We have The Terminator. Reminder, this is an English class. So this was my first time watching this, and yeah, they weren't lying. That guy sure can terminate. It plays out much like a horror movie, with this unstoppable killing machine systematically taking out everyone with the name Sarah Connor. Maybe my professor's hot take that Arnold Schwarzenegger is just not a good actor, so he fits for a robot is true, but it definitely took a lot of effort to play a machine this well. His movements are so on point. Speculative fiction is often funny to me because of how people often predict that there's going to be way more technological advancement than there actually ends up being. Like, the future in this movie, with all of the Terminators and the robots taking over everything, is 2029. So it's coming up. Get hyped. Of course, you have Back to the Future 2 with the hoverboards in 2015 and the flying cars. Flying cars are a terrible idea, but I mean, they look cool as hell, so who cares? And I believe Akira takes place in 2019, so that one's already passed. Tangent aside, yeah, this one deals with time travel and AI very much. The Terminator is sent back in time to assassinate Sarah Connor, who is the mother of John Connor, I think. It also plays with the concept of destiny, or like predestination, which often goes hand in hand with time travel, of course. That Sarah is destined to give birth to the guy who's gonna beat all the robots. It's a classic story of man versus machine. Of course, Skynet is like the artificial intelligence that rules the future. And I found it interesting that in this movie, they only refer to Skynet by name like once. I'm sure it happens a lot more in Terminator 2, which is apparently really good. But this is the one that was assigned this time. It was, the action was good. I don't feel too strongly about this movie. I'm not really sure why. I don't know. Like, it is good. It is really good, but I don't know. I'm not, like, going crazy about it. So it's probably, like, A or, like, top of B. I'll put it in A for now. That should do the trick. All right. We got Back to the Future. Reminder again, English class. Man, Back to the Future is just a flat-out fun movie. This was also my first time seeing it, and it resonated with me a lot more. I've actually seen it twice now. With both this and Terminator, it was fun finally picking up on all these iconic things that everyone references all the time, like, aha, this is actually secretly media literacy class. I love Doc Brown, just such an incredibly silly guy. The mad scientist character is always just fun, and also he like stole plutonium from Libyan terrorists or something. I don't know, just go off, King. Obviously, this was the big time travel movie in the context of the class. It's the one and only. Not one or only, but it's the big one. They had so much fun with the idea of history repeating itself, which is a common thing across speculative fiction. The way that Biff and George's interaction in 1985 completely parallels what it was like in 1950. All that stuff, like, they do that so much, and it's always just fun. It's just flat out damn fun. Just having a good time. But yeah, I had a blast. This was a great time to watch. Time? Excuse me. Yeah, so that's going in S tier. Do I put it above? Yeah, I'm gonna order the tier. Do I put it Back to the Future above 1984? This is why this is such a funny, like, what is this tier list? Why am I comparing George Orwell's 1984 to Back to the Future? What is going on here? Back to the Future is better. Oh, what is this? This isn't a movie. Yawn. So we have The Evening and the Morning and the Night by Octavia Butler. Quite a name. This short story has a very unique and interesting concept. To create this fictional genetic disease that sort of takes elements from real ones and mixes them together, heightens them to such a dramatic degree, and makes a story about that. I respect it. So this one also has that, like, free will, societal order versus personal freedoms thing from To Be or Not to Be. Specifically, I was thinking of a quote from this one where it's like, I don't want kids, but I don't want someone else telling me I can't have any. But yeah, this is a very powerful story. The way it depicts how people with this disease are considered social outcasts, it very much rings true to things that happen in the real world through a speculative fiction lens. And the free will dilemma is in that the protagonist has these like pheromones that could influence other people that she's staying with. Like her roommates are able to behave and like not have outbursts is because of her pheromones. So it is beneficial to them, but it's also like, you know, she's technically kind of like controlling them. So it's like this lessened free will, sort of like the Evitable Conflict in that way, where they're sort of being influenced more subtly. Basically what you can gather from this class is that we really like having free will. Pretty nice thing to have. There's definitely a lot you could unpack here, and I mean that goes for literally all of these. Like you could relate to this to so many things, like depression or mental illnesses or hereditary things, like how they have a special diet, which many people might have something similar. They have like the dog bone or whatever they describe it as. So where do I put this? I was thinking about putting it alongside the Evitable Conflict, but I think this is probably like better. Like I feel like it has a lot more to say. I'll put it in B tier. I'll do that. I will. All right, we got Akira. That dub I watched pronounce it as Akira, so I'll do that. I just watched this, and I did not follow the plot very well. My brain is not primed well for anime, unfortunately. I just don't have a high enough IQ to understand the intricacies. But this was a really cool thing to watch. The animation is absolutely stunning. So this one is technically not on the official list. It was on the syllabus, but I think we didn't end up going over it because, like, no one watched it. I mean, doesn't that go for all of these? But I saw it and I was like, hey, I should go back and watch this because, I mean, it's Akira. It's iconic. It's got the bike, the slide. Everyone loves the slide. You love the slide. You know you do. It was pretty early in the movie. I was like, dang, got it out of the way right away. And there were a lot of other things I recognized as well. Like a lot of bits of animation and scenes that I've seen elsewhere over on the internet. And they're all from here. It's really played a big role in popularizing anime and cyberpunk anime stuff. This one is, I feel, really unique for this class because, like, the main thing is, like, Tetsuo gets these telekinetic abilities, which are not really, like, something that could happen. Like, many things are like, oh, it's like robots, it's artificial intelligence. This is like, you know, it's like some magic brain, whoa, crazy stuff. But it's got the cyberpunk setting, and it has the experimentation on humans, which is big no-no. Doing a little bit too much of playing God. There was a quote I wrote down. Maybe we weren't meant to meddle with the power of a god with the colonel and the doctor. This movie just keeps going. It just gets like crazier and crazier. It's just these like insane action scenes, these characters. It's just packed. It's a lot, and it's pretty dang sick. Even though I barely understood what was going on, that's a speculative fiction, all right. I'm pretty sure. The A tier, I don't know. All right, next we got a movie that I never even heard of before this class, Gattaca. The first thing I noticed was that it was directed by Peter Weir, the director of The Truman Show. Okay, that's a lie. Really, the first thing that I actually comprehended was that Ernest Borgnine is in this, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Mermaid Man. So that was funny. So this one was part of the famous Eugenics Bad unit. It's all about genetic engineering. In this world, children can basically be created to be like modified to what the parents want, and also to remove the possibility of any like genetic disorders or disabilities and stuff like that. So people who are born that way are called valids. Meanwhile, people who are born naturally are invalids. The movie is about an invalid named Vincent who takes on the identity of a valid in order to achieve his dream of going to space. There's a whole lot of needles in this movie, you know, obviously gotta be checking, you know, who's got the good blood and who's the bad. So if you're not a fan of needles, don't watch this. But yeah, this is, I mean, once again, a very fascinating concept. Though I personally didn't get much out of this movie. Like, I see like a lot of like I see the vision, the sort of partnership that Vincent gets with Jerome, where it's like having to keep up this huge ruse where like he has to like provide his blood because like every time he goes into work he has to get his finger pricked to get in. And I just noticed looking at one of the posters, like a big thing in this movie is this spiral staircase, which is in like Jerome's place. And I just realized it's a spiral staircase probably because it's supposed to look like a strand of DNA. God, that's genius. Maybe I'm corn plating right now and nobody actually thought of that, but like, I don't know. I feel like probably they did. That's the fun part about analyzing with my Brian. Like, the cinematography in this movie, like, the lighting and stuff is, like, has a very, like, distinct vibe. It was well done. It just didn't appeal to me that much. I'll put it at top of B tier. All right, next we have what's this? The Truman Show. So this was not part of the class curriculum, at least not yet, but I did watch it for this class technically in order to make the video essay. So why not? I'm including it. It's my video. I do what I want. So I'm not going to go over it again because you can just watch the video essay, which has all the themes and my analysis. So there we go. All right, the last thing on this list that is composed of words that you have to look at and read yourself with your brain. This is Story of Your Life. This short story was adapted into the movie Arrival, which I should probably check out. Apparently it's pretty popular. So my professor introduced this one by saying it's the only thing in the class that deals with aliens, and I was like, damn it. I want more aliens. I want to see those aliens. But I get it. Aliens are pretty silly, but also a very fascinating subject. And this one is very in-depth in that it deals with a very sort of realistic idea of trying to communicate with extraterrestrials. Because really, you always think about aliens like they're like the little green men. Like, hi, hello, it's me. I'm the Glorpo from the planet Zleeb.
Yo, it's Gleep. What up, man?
But I mean, when you think about it, in reality, aliens could be literally anything. By all odds, if extraterrestrials do exist, they probably are nothing like humans at all. They probably don't even have, like, the same senses, or, like, the same way of perceiving things, or, like, the way of thinking about things. Even if they are intelligent, they may think about things in an entirely different way. So I found it really interesting to read something that goes very in-depth into that process of sort of like trying to figure out this puzzle of communicating to an extraterrestrial. So that's kind of the part that I mainly took away from it, but mainly the story is about how the main character is aware that her daughter is going to die young in a rock climbing accident. So it's sort of about free will versus determinism. Like, if you know what's going to happen, can you prevent it? If you know any disaster, anything that's going to happen ahead of time, can you keep it from happening? Or is it a canon event, so to speak? It's a very experimental story, and I do respect that. There was clearly a lot of research put into it. The timeline is non-linear. It's interesting. So, brings up some interesting stuff. I think I will put it in C tier, above Evitable Conflict. All right. The Matrix. This was my second time watching this movie. The first time was last semester when we talked about it in my philosophy class. It wasn't required there. It was just like we read like an article that was sort of about it. And I think my professor recommended watching it because like everybody was kind of like, he was like, have you guys seen it? And everyone's like, I was like, well, you should fix that shit. And I was like, okay. So yeah, that wasn't required, but this time it was required reading, and for good reason. Yeah, it's a classic. Everyone is constantly aura farming and dropping quotes that go hard. It's firing on all cylinders. No wonder everyone parodied it for the next decades. The Matrix is just like, it's a classic speculative fiction idea of like the dramatic irony, like how I referenced it in relation to the Truman Show. It's this idea that you don't actually know the true nature of your world. Is there a larger world outside of yours? Is everything just fake? Is everything an illusion? Is it a simulated reality? Those are just some of the most fascinating ideas in speculative fiction because it really makes you question everything. And like the action scenes are like iconic, you know. This was like 1999. This was very much showing off the sort of stunts and tech CG stuff they could pull off. It's iconic. It's The Matrix. I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, I guess I do tend to like these stories where like the truth is being concealed from humanity for some reason. Like this, The Truman Show, and The Defenders. I mean, The Evitable Conflict also has that, and it's at the bottom, but that's because it's like boring politicians talking about the economy. Like, who wants to see that? I want to see fucking Jim Carrey doing silly shit. But yeah, The Matrix goes in S tier. Do I put it above Back to the Future or The Truman Show? All of these are like really good. I'm out of all these movies, it's probably like the most impressive, but personally, me being a stupid baby who likes fun stuff, I'd probably rather rewatch these two. So I'll put it right there. All right, following up The Matrix, we have Idiocracy. This movie is weird. I don't know how to feel about it. It's a pretty simple concept. These two people are sealed in stasis chambers for a government experiment that's only supposed to last a year, but they end up being trapped in them for 500 years, and turns out in the future, everyone is really, really dumb. This was directed by Mike Judge, who is sort of the expert on stupidity, being the guy behind Beavis and Butthead. This movie is a great example of satire in speculative fiction, and it deals with ideas such as consumerism and anti-intellectualism. So, I'm very conflicted on Idiocracy. I feel like it's probably not actually that good, like, critically, but I kinda can't stop thinking about it. Maybe that's like in comparison to everything else in this curriculum, which is sort of like the best of the best, all these iconic movies and books that everyone knows and loves as masterpieces. This is definitely an outlier. Its sense of humor is crude and outdated, a whole lot of just saying slurs and sex jokes and swearing, but is it actually a clever commentary on how those things are unintelligent? Or is it just outdated 2000s comedy? Hard to tell, that's why I'm so conflicted on this one. I mean, there were quite a few things that made me laugh, and it's a really interesting concept for speculative fiction. The twisted depictions on these corporations, like the fucking giant Costco, was hilarious. Carl's Jr. having this like evil version of the logo. There was an ad that was like, oh, if you don't smoke these cigarettes, fuck you. Like, that made me fucking lose it. Oh man, I think it's growing on me. It's stupid, and like, you know, that's the point, but it really does feel applicable to today. So much misinformation, people just believing whatever they're told. I think a lot of things today are probably making people dumber. ChatGPT. The advertisements literally everywhere, the product placement slogans, it feels relevant in some way, doesn't it? It really does. I cannot call this like, this can't be like A or S tier, like it's not that good, but it's like one of the most interesting things on this list to me. So I think top of B tier is probably where it belongs, but I don't know, I have a soft spot for it. It's invading my brain in a really fascinating way. Also, for some reason, when I watched this, I thought the main guy was Adam Sandler. I don't know why. Oh my gosh, it's Wally! Like, come on, this isn't fair. As a stupid little child who is a big fan of animation, God, this movie is both adorable and really fucking cool, and is also deep enough to be analyzed as a genuine piece of speculative fiction. Like, this isn't fair! You can't do this to me! My professor was literally crashing out /positive about how perfect this movie is for the class on the day we discussed it, and yeah, I completely agree. Weirdly enough, I don't think I saw Wall-E as a kid? Like, the last time I remember watching it was like in a science class, and we only got to see like the first bit of it. That just reminded me of the time in 8th grade where literally the only movie that my school owned on DVD apparently was a B-movie. So I've seen the first 30 minutes of B-movie like 5 times. Is B-movie speculative fiction? What if the bees did not like that we were taking their honey? What if bees sued the human race? Since taking this class, I'm just starting to question whether everything is speculative fiction and if I can make like a stupid video essay about them. If this lasted forever, I would. But yeah, Wall-E has like almost every theme and like so many things that I could connect to other things from this class. It really helped me gain a better appreciation for it. Like, there's literally a part where the children are being conditioned to love by and large, just like Brave New World. The captain saying, I don't want to survive, I want to live, also just like Brave New World, with the I want God, I want pain. Similarly to Idiocracy, it deals with consumerism, but this one is much more about environmentalism. That's like the primary theme. It's about pollution. There are just so many things to talk about with Wall-E. I found it really interesting how the humans in the past were depicted in live action, which is like the only time that ever happened in a Pixar movie. Because you can sort of imagine that the people used to look like this, and then because of the gravitational forces and the sedentary lifestyle, they somehow just morphed over time into these cartoon blobs. And obviously on top of that, like, it's a perfect movie for everyone. It's like, it's got the cute robots, it's got the love story, and it's got these incredible deep science fiction themes, and it's Wall-E. It's Wall-E. It's S tier. Is it better than the Truman Show? That's my question, because I'm putting it way up here. Oh God, I feel like I'm a little oversaturated on the Truman Show, but that's just because I made the video essay. Like, if I made a video essay about Wall-E instead, I'd probably be singing a different tune. I don't know. Also, oh my god, wait, I need to talk about the credits. It's like they're rebuilding the Earth, and it's like the different eras of art history, and I was like, oh my god, it's so fucking smart. It's so genius. This movie's so good. Yeah. Go figure. The Pixar movie wins for the stupid man-child idiots tier list. Who could have guessed? So now we have Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Specifically, we watched episode 4, An Alchemist's Anguish. This was the very first thing we watched in class. Literally the second day of class, we watched this in the class. And boy, did I mention that we watched this in class. And boy, did it make an impression of how wild and unusual this class would be. I thought to myself, I'm literally sitting here watching anime in English class. What is going on? And yet, I was able to very clearly see the connection between this and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1818. Both are cautionary tales about what can go wrong when we try to fly too close to the sun, try to play God and create life, or in this case, revert death. I believe we watched episode 4 and a little bit of the first episode too. So this is just a very small first impression, but the first impression was I thought it was really cool. And I was I've never been an anime guy, but I was genuinely damn, I should watch this. I should actually try to watch this. This seems really cool and interesting. Just all about these ethics, the moral responsibility, and it's got cool fight scenes and stuff, What more could you ask for? So, yeah, I guess I'll put that at the bottom of A. Even though I have literally only seen one episode, but it was pretty cool, and it made a very memorable first impression for how wild this class would be. So now, we have 2 episodes of Black Mirror, which is very much the modern Twilight Zone. Each episode is its own self-contained story about some kind of freaky sci-fi stuff, some kind of wacky, crazy idea. These 2 episodes are the most possible different episodes of a single show that there could ever be. San Junipero is this colorful, poppy love story with all this 80s nostalgia about people uploading their consciousness to the cloud to live on after death. And then Metalhead is about robot dogs who kill you. And it's black and white, and there's blood everywhere. So, San Junipero, this one is all about transhumanism, or post-humanism. The idea of our consciousness living on after our death thanks to technology. Basically, people want to find a way to outlive the inevitable march of time, become immortal, which again, much like the whole creating life thing, is maybe a little bit too plain godlike, and you may be punished for wanting to do such a thing in certain stories. This one, though, is very interesting. So, San Junipero is a simulated reality fueled by nostalgia. Basically, people who are old or dying can upload their consciousness into this cloud that is this simulated city, and it exists on in different eras in time. It is quite complicated. But as a dumb nerd, I absolutely love the way they use the arcade games to show what time period they're in. You've got some classics, you got some Bubble Bobble in the 80s, and then you go to the 2000s and everyone's playing DDR. God, that's so clever. When the guy came up to her and he's like, hey, Bubble Bobble, that's got a secret ending. It reminded me a lot of the Scott Pilgrim Puckman thing. They were originally going to call him Puckman, but they were worried that people would, scribble out the P and replace it with an F. I've never seen Scott Pilgrim, for the record, but it has a lot of cool stuff. The music choices as well are really good. It was quite an experience. I don't really know where to rank this, though. Probably B tier, but it's not particularly high. I gotta reorganize this a little bit. I kind of liked it more than Gattaca. I got more enjoyment out of it than Gattaca. Gattaca honestly is probably lower B tier, probably right there. Let's go with that. San Junipero is noted for being one of the few Black Mirror episodes that has a happy ending, which makes it even more hilarious how complete polar opposites the 2 episodes that we watched were. Because next we have Metalhead, which is about robot dogs who kill everyone that moves and everyone that's a human and alive. This takes place in a dystopian society. There's not many people left, and they're all being tracked down by these killer robot dog guards. Like the Terminator, this plays much like a horror movie, but even more so. And I don't really watch horror stuff, so this one actually hit me like a horror movie. Like, ooh. Well, I can say I definitely was not bored. The fact that these machines are, like, not humanoid, which is very unique, they are, like, animal-like, makes them even more terrifying. And they're based on the Boston Dynamics robot dogs, which gained some traction online around this time. So it was like, what would happen if one of those things actually just really wanted to kill you? The fact that it was shot in black and white is really, really striking. All the blood is just like, it makes it less disturbing, but also more disturbing. It's just so... It has such a striking visual identity, and is even more of a homage to the Twilight Zone because of that. And of course, the ending reveal that they went to the factory at the beginning just to get a teddy bear, that's masterful. It says so much about the human condition with so little. Still going in C tier though, because it made me shit my pants. Anyway, Blade Runner 2049, Blackout 2022. A lot of numbers there. This one is a anime cyberpunk short film. If I knew anything about Blade Runner, I would probably get way more enjoyment out of this. Alright, that was a funny joke, but I'll be fair to Metalhead. Gattaca was a little bit boring sometimes. As I said, I was not bored watching Metalhead, so I think it should go there. So, yeah, Blackout 2022. It has the idea of these artificial life who are gaining this level of sentience where they're beginning to question, are we even real? What are we if we are not actually real, but we have this level of sentience that real people do? What makes us different? Of course, cyberpunk this was the only actual main cyberpunk thing we watched. I mean, there was Akira as well. Both of them were anime, interestingly. But this one really goes into the sort of general idea of cyberpunk. High-tech, low life. Futuristic environments juxtaposed with societal collapse or decay. And also a whole lot of neon lights and rain. That is a recipe for a cyberpunk. Something that is often used in cyberpunk is the idea of violence for entertainment. Idiocracy also had this, interestingly. It's definitely not cyberpunk, but there was definitely a whole lot of violence for entertainment. And it's also another example of history repeating itself because it goes back to gladiators and the Roman Colosseum. When you think about it, it's pretty crazy that it's just hey, look, it's the Roman Colosseum. It's a tourist fun place. Meanwhile, how many people died there? So many people died in that thing. But yeah, I really don't have the knowledge to get much from this short film. This is all I got, so I am going to be putting it in C tier. Probably, I'll put it at the top, because at least I can look at it with my eyes and it looks good. Finally, we're here at the end. We have The Last of Us, the HBO series from 2023, the most recent thing on this list. Based on the video game, which of course I have not played because, again, baby. But this was a very interesting idea. So many, I think literally all of the other things on this list deal with disasters that were created by humanity. And of course, that's mainly what speculative fiction is about. Humans inventing something and then it gets more powerful than us and all of the bad stuff that comes from that. But in this case, this is a natural phenomenon. It's a fungus that spreads and infects everyone and everything. It's certainly a very unique angle, and I really appreciate that about it. So very much the fungus infection basically makes zombies. This is a post-apocalyptic, there's zombie sort of people. We only watched the first episode, but I would be interested in seeing more, or actually playing the game. I'd probably like to do that, because it does seem to be a very compelling story, though again, there's not much I can base this on because of, I have such a limited exposure to it, yet I still put Fullmetal Alchemist in A, so, I should probably be fair. This is episode 1, so I was able to get what was going on the Blade Runner short. So this probably belongs in B tier. Is it better? Is this one episode better than Gattaca? Probably not. Well, let's go with that. And there you have it, I guess. So S tier, we have WALL-E, The Truman Show, Back to the Future, The Matrix, and 1984. This feels pretty natural to me. These are definitely the top 5 my favorite things from this class. Some movies that I just loved, and a book that really genuinely compelled me for the first time in years or like ever. Now we have A tier, which has The Defenders, a short story which I was really fascinated by the concept of, Brave New World, which didn't capture me quite as much, but is still an incredibly well-written novel. We got The Terminator, which is, we got Akira, which I wasn't able to follow very well, but it was really cool. Fullmetal Alchemist, again, is something that really like set the standard for how crazy this class would be. And there's a lot of things here that I really like. All the TV shows that we watched, like I want to see more of, especially Fullmetal Alchemist, Twilight Zone, and Black Mirror, which is like most of them. Sorry, Last of Us, you can wait. The Idiocracy, my beloved or behated, I don't know. I feel like top of B is fitting for Idiocracy. San Junipero, To Be or Not to Be, Twilight Zone, Time Enough at Last, Metalhead, Gattaca, Last of Us, Evening in the Morning and the Night, and then Blackout 2022, Stories of Your Life, and The Evitable Conflict. Nothing in D tier because I am very easily pleased. I like most things that I watch or do. No hot takes here because I'm kind of someone who just kind of likes everything, or most things. Overall, especially S tier, but all of these things were genuinely like really interesting and enjoyable to just watch and read and discuss in class. This was just such a blast, and I genuinely feel like I've gotten a much higher level of media literacy and appreciation for science fiction and stories in general. I hope this acted as a good recap for this class and my experiences with this very, very scattered list of speculative fiction stories. And if you haven't, I would definitely highly recommend checking out almost everything on this list, especially the S tier up here, but pretty much all of them all have their own merits and interesting points of view and interesting concepts for speculative fiction that really get you to think. And that is really what it's all about. So I hope you enjoyed it. Now I have to edit this whole thing. I have no idea how long this is going to be. I have to edit it all in a day. This is going to be great! Woo!